Hey, what's up everybody, this is Alfred from Practical Code Academy. In today's video, I want to show you how to create a responsive navigation bar. The navigation bar that we're going to be building together is going to look like this. This is how it looks in the large screens. As you can see, we have a logo. You can replace the logo with an image or icon or whatever you want. And we have a bunch of links here. If I want to show this navigation bar on a smaller screen, and we want to see how it's going to look on iPhone 6, for example. So as you can see the links, they all disappeared, and you will have here a side menu icon. Once I click on this icon, I will have my side navigation coming from the left, and I'm having a closing button here to close the side navigation. So that's what we're going to be building today. I hope you're going to like it, and let's get started. Okay, I'll start by creating a folder for our project. I'm going to call it navbar. Next, I'll open it with Visual Studio Code. Inside the folder, I'm going to create our HTML file. I'm going to call it index.html. Also, styling sheet file, style.css. And finally, the JavaScript file, which is app.js. You can rename it whatever you want. Inside our index.html file, I'm going to generate a boilerplate for our HTML using Emmet. I'm going to change the title to navbar. Next, I will link my styling sheet. So I'm going to use a link tag. And I'm going to do style.css. Inside my body, I'm going to do a script tag for my JavaScript file. I'm going to do app.js. Inside the body, I'm going to use a nav element or nav tag. So I'm going to do nav. Inside the nav, I'm going to have a div with a container class. So division was a container class. Inside this div or this container, I'm going to have my logo, which is just a link, and a link that having an h1 tag with a text logo. You can change this text to with an image or an icon if you want for your website. However, I'm just going to keep it as a logo in a text form. I'm going to give it a class of logo. Next, I'm going to work with the navigation links. So I'm going to do ul, li, and each li. I'm going to have an a tag. First one will be home. I'm gonna give it a class of nav link, and also this UL I'm gonna give it a class of top nav list. I'm gonna copy this link 3 more times. Second one will be about, then services, and finally contact. That's it pretty much for the markup for the large screen. Later we're going to be adding the side menu to it. However, let's take a look at it. As you can see, it looks ugly as usual. We need to style that. So I'm going to open it side by side. So I'm going to open it here. There's Visual Studio. And now I'm going to start working on my styling sheet. First, I'm going to reset all the browser default by selecting all the elements and setting the margin to 0, padding to 0, and then box sizing to border box. Gonna save that. Now for the body, I'm going to give it a background of light gray, which is E5, E5, E5. Also, I'm going to use a font family Arial. The height will be 100 of the viewport height, and the width will be 100%. If I save this, as you can see, the background color change. Now I want to remove any underline in my links, so I'm going to select all links, or all the A tags. I'm going to do text decoration, none. For my nav bar or my nav element, I'm going to give it a background color, just a background of linear gradient. I'm going to do from purple to indigo. I'm going to give it a little bit lighter purple and a little bit darker indigo. And also I want the gradient to be from the left to right, so I'm going to add here to right, and that's going to change the gradient direction. Next, I'm going to add a shadow to my navigation bar, so I'm going to do box shadow. Zero pixel, 2 pixels for the Y offset, and 10 pixels for the blur, and the RGBA, that's the color of black, which is 0, 0, 0, and opacity of 0.7. And that's going to give you this nice gray here, nice shadow effect. Next, I'm going to start with the container. For the container, I'm going to do display flex. So flex technically will put the logo and the links next to each other on row by default. So if I save this, as you can see, they are next to each other. But I don't like the bullet points, so I'm gonna select all my list items to have a list style. None. That will remove the bullet points. Also, I will update my links to be all the links to have a color of white. Okay, now since we have this as a displayed as flex, we can put all the space between them using justify content, space between. And that will put the logo on the left side and all the links on the right side. And also, if I want to align this logo with the links, all I need to do is just align items, center. So it will align everybody here to the center. As you can see, the logo dropped down. Okay, the problem that I'm having right now, as you can see, the logo is right next to the edge of the web browser and also the links here. To fix this problem, it's very simple. I'm actually going to set a max width to my container. I'm going to put it as 111 pixel. And as you can see now, we limited the width to 110, and now we have a little bit space here. We can distribute it evenly using margin auto. That will center the container in the middle of the screen. Okay, now it looks perfect, and it's a little bit responsive because as you can see, all the spaces get distributed evenly, and it's more like a fluid design. Okay, but the problem that when you reach 110, now I have the logo still hitting the side of my browser and also the links. That can be fixing by adding some padding. So top and bottom is going to be 0. However, left and right I'm going to add 2 rims, and that will add some padding between the logo and the edge of the browser. I'm going to put it back like this. Okay. Now, in order to have these links next to each other, I'm also going to use Flexbox. So I'm going to select, what did I call it here? Top nav list. I'm going to copy this name or the class name. Then I'm going to do display flex. And I want to add some padding around these icons. So I'm going to do padding 0.5 rem top and bottom, and 0 left and right. As you can see, later when I style the links, I'm gonna add all the paddings to the link, not to the unsorted list. For the link now, let's do that right now. Let's select the nav link. I'm gonna do padding 0.5 rem, top and bottom, and left and right I'm gonna do 1 rem to separate, give us a space between each other, and that looks much better. Oh, if you notice, we have a problem here because I added 0.5 to the top and bottom, and if I increase this value, for example 5, nothing happened. It's not affecting the link, so it's actually doesn't matter what number I put here, even though I want 0.5 rem, but it's not working. And the reason for that the link is inline element. In order to use padding to the top and bottom, or margin or height, you need to use a display either block to use it as a block element or inline block. So in that case I'm going to do inline block. Once you pick inline block, as you can see now the padding show effect. I'm going to change the font size. I'm going to give it 1.2 rem. Okay, now we just make the font a little bit bigger. Now I think it's also a good idea to increase the font for the logo, so I'm gonna do logo, font size, and let's try 1.4 rem. Yeah, it looked perfect. Now I want to do some animation to my links here. So from each nav link, when I get hover by the mouse, I want to do the background to be an RGBA color. I'll pick RGBA 0 black with opacity of 0.7. And also I want to change the color, and instead of white I want to do it as purple. However, I want a light color of the purple, a very light color like this one. Okay, now here's the effect when I hover over them, which is not bad. We can add a border box, border radius. I'm gonna give it a 10 pixels. As you can see now, it's having like a rounded corner. Okay, but it's happening so fast, so we need to add some transition here. So I'm gonna add to my link here transition. And since we doing transition for 3 different properties, we can select all of them and put the transition time here as 0.4 seconds. And now when I hover over it, as you can see, it's happening, taking 0.4 seconds to do the transition. That's it for the main screen bar, or for the large screen. Now if I try to see that in a smaller devices, as you can see, I cannot get all the links and it look ugly. So in order to fix this, it's pretty much simple. I'm gonna add here inside my, after the container div here, this is my container div, I'm gonna add another div. I'm gonna call it side nav. That's where my side navigation markup will be there. I'm gonna add a link, and this is gonna act like a button, my closing button for the side navigation. I'm gonna give it a class of close btn, and I'm gonna give it ampersand times and semicolon. This is for the x or the times entity. Next, I'm gonna copy whatever I have here, the UL, gonna paste it because it's same for the side navigation, and instead of top nav list, I'm gonna change it as side nav list. And here I'm gonna add the word side nav link. And once I save it, as you can see here, I need to hide this for now, but let's work on it in the styling sheet. But for the markup, we're done. Actually, this is pretty much it for the markup, except we need to add here the icon for the side navigation. To do so, I'm gonna grab the link for Font Awesome, so you can go search for Font Awesome CDN. And can look any, we can get the CDN from the W3 schools. So I'm gonna copy this one, put it here. Okay. Now, if you go to fontawesome.com and you search for the bars icon, this is the icon that we're gonna use. If you click on it, it's gonna give you the class name. If you click on the start using this icon, this is the class name that we're gonna use. I'm gonna copy this. However, keep in mind this class name is for Font Awesome 5. However, when I copy the link here, it's showing that we're using version number 4. So I'm gonna do first the link and then put the icon here. For version number 4, it's pretty much similar, and instead of it start with an FAS class, it's just FA. Let's see how it's gonna look like. As you can see, I have my icon here right now. Okay, that's it for the markup. I need to hide this. I need to hide also the side navigation bar. So I'm gonna go back to the styling sheet. Actually, before I go back, let's give it some classes here. I'm gonna give this icon here a class of toggler, because this is the one gonna toggle the side navigation bar. Let me see what else. Do we need anything from the markup? No, that's pretty much it. Let me save this. Now go for the styling. Okay. Now to hide this stuff, it's pretty much very simple. I'm gonna select the side nav and do display none, and it will be displayed. It will be disappeared. And also I need to do the same for the toggler. So I can add a comma here, dot toggler, and save it, and both of them are displayed none, and they can be disappeared. For my smaller screen, so let's do now small screen like this. I'm gonna use a media query to check the screen size. So I'm gonna do media, and I need a max width. So I need to know what exactly the width of this page is gonna break down. I can do responsive and see what is the exact width. Let me increase the width here, 1%, and I'm gonna do it smaller, 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 smaller. And as you can see here, right at 516, the logo will hit the links. So I'll pick 550. So the max width for 550 pixel, if it's a smaller screen, then 550. Now we can get it back to the iPhone X, or let's do it iPhone 6. What I want to do is I want to show up my side navigation. I want to hide my links here in the top navigation bar. So the top navigation bar, top nav items, will be display none. Why they didn't disappear? Top nav list, I call it top nav list. Top nav list and now they disappeared. And also for the logo, I need to add some padding, because if you remember, our links having some padding at the top, and now when I take them out of the screen, all the padding disappeared. So I'll add the padding to the logo. So I'm gonna do the logo padding, and I remember we added 0.5 rem and 0 for the left and right. Okay, that looked better. For the toggler, I'm gonna make it appear back in a smaller screen using display block. And now I have my toggler here, but the problem I have all the way the logo all the way on the right. To fix this, because remember we have this the container to be justify content as a space between, so we need to change that right now. We select the container and we make justify content to be flex start, so both of them will be at the start of the page. Perfect. Now let's do some styling for the icon here, which is the toggler. I can do font size 1.5 rem, and also I'm gonna give it margin right 1 rem. Okay, that looked perfect. Actually, I'm gonna increase it a little bit, 1.6 rem. Okay, that's perfect. Now I need to work on my side navigation bar. To do so, I'm gonna select the side nav bar, or side nav, what did we call it? Side nav, just side nav. And I'm gonna make it appear again. So I'm gonna do display block, and as you can see here, this is our side nav. And I'm gonna do the position to be fixed, because I want it fixed to the viewport. I don't, even if there's a scrolling or anything, it's always be fixed to the viewport. To the top 0, bottom 0, left, for now we're gonna set it as 0, and now we need to give it a width. So for the width, I'm gonna use 60% of the screen size. It doesn't matter what is the width of the screen, it always will use 60% of that screen width. So I'm gonna do 60 viewport width, VW. Side nav. Let's do background, linear gradient. I'm gonna use the same linear gradient I use for the navigation bar. And instead of 2 right, I'm gonna give it a 45 degree. Okay. Now I need to work on my closing bind here. I don't like the closing bind here. I want to set it all the way to the right here. So the close btn, I'm gonna give it increase the font size to 2 rem. The position will be absolute, and it will be to the right 5 pixels. So I want to bring it to the right 5 pixels from the right. Okay, perfect. Also from the top, it will be 5 pixels. Great. I'm gonna give it a width of 35 pixels, height of 35 pixels, and background of, I'm gonna use the RGBA color 0.7. But however, as you can see, it's not centered here. To center it, you can also use the same trick where you can display it as a flex, justify the content center, and align the items to the center, and also do text align center. And now as you can see, it's in the middle. We're gonna do border radius, let's say 10 pixels. Okay, look perfect. One last thing here, when I hover over it, I want to give it like a nice rotation animation. So I'm gonna do close btn. When it's hover, I'm gonna use transform rotate. I'm gonna rotate 180 degree, and you barely can see it because it's gonna happen so fast. So let's do transition here. We're gonna do transition for the transform property, and let's do it 0.5 seconds. Okay, now when you can see it here because the hover over effect is not working on the small screens. Let's see, because I'm not selecting the element. The best way to see that, if you resize it to a small screen, and you hover over it here, as you can see, it's rotating with a half-second transition period. Okay, that's pretty much it for the button. Now let's work on our navigation item here, or the links here. Okay, so let's target side nav. Let's target the side nav list here. And I want to display it as flex. Once I display it as flex, as you can see, the default is the flex row, but I can change that to be display or flex direction as column. And now they're going to be on top of each other. And now I can use justify content center, align items center. Okay, you might ask right now, what happened? Why it's not vertically aligned? And the reason for that, you didn't give it a height. They don't have a height to be vertically aligned on it. So all I need to do is just height 100%. And if I save that, as you can see, they are vertically aligned because now they're having all 100% of the parent element. Okay, now let's style the link itself. So side nav link. First, I want to display it as inline block, each link. I'm going to give it a width of 90%. I'm going to do some padding, top and bottom 1 rem, left and right 0. I'm going to do font size 1.5 rem. And now when I hover over it, I want to put some effects. So side nav link, hover. I'm gonna give it the same effect that we did for our top navigation hover here. I'm gonna copy this one without the border. I don't need to have a border here. And add the transition over here for all 0.4 seconds. And we're gonna have, oops, why it didn't take 90% of the width, because the LI element is not 100%. So I need to do side, because remember, you have the link or the A tag is inside the LI, and the LI don't have the 100% of the UL. So I need to do side nav list, the LI, and I want to do width to be 100% of its parent, and the text align center. And now it having a 90%, and we have this nice effect. Okay, now when we want to close in this button, we want this whole side navigation to be retreated to the left. To do that trick, as for now, our side nav list, or where it is, this side nav, it having a left 0, so it's starting exactly from the left. If I change this to, for example, 90%, no, I'm sorry, negative 90%, or negative 100, it disappear. It's not actually disappear, it's all the way to the left. And I can prove that for you. If I put negative 50%, as you can see, it start appearing back again. If I put 60, I mean 40, 30, 20, and so on. So we're gonna push it all the way to the left. So it's gonna be negative 100% initially, like this. And when the user click in this button, we're gonna switch the left from negative 100% all the way to the 0. To do that trick, we're gonna use the JavaScript file. So for the JavaScript, before we do anything, we have to collect our elements of interest and make a reference to them or put them in variables. So I'm gonna do let side nav, where side nav here will be a reference for my side navigation, which is going to be a document.query selector. I'm going to select it from the DOM, where it's having side nav. This is what I'm selecting. So side nav. Next, I will select my toggler, this button here. I'm going to call it toggler, which is document query selector dot toggler. And the final part that I want to select is the closing button inside my side navigation bar. So I'm gonna call it close btn document dot query selector close btn. Once I create all what I need in variables, the next step I'm going to do an event listener. I want to listen when a customer click my, for example, the toggler bar here. So when he click it, I want to do something. So I'm going to select the toggler. I'm going to type the toggler here. And I'm going to add event listener. And the event that I'm interested in is the click event. Once the user click it, I want to do something, and in order to do something, you have to wrap it in a function. So I'm going to use an ES6 function, which is an arrow function. I'm going to do I'm going to select the side navigation bar, which is a side nav. I want to do the style. I want to access the left property of the style, and I want to set it to 0. So when the user click on the toggler, I will set the style of the left of the side navigation to be 0. Remember, right now it's in the negative 100. So if I save this and I click here, it will bring back my side navigation bar. And it's happening so fast. It's not why it's behaving like this. Let me test this. Okay. I think because the link here, let's put some hash and test it. No. For the toggler here, let's put the hash over here. Yep. So technically what was happening, it's a link. So when you click on it, it's supposed to go to hybrid reference, whatever. But by putting the hash, you're telling it to not go anywhere. I'll do the same thing here for the close button. Okay. So that's been fixed. So when the user click here, the side navigation come all the way to the left. And remember, it's right now it's happening so fast. We're going to add the transition to this. So let me actually add this transition right now. For the side nav, I'm going to do transition. I'm going to do 1 second. So let's refresh. And as you can see right now, it's having nice and smooth. Let's try it again. Coming all the way from the left. Now I want this button, when I click on it, to close down my navigation bar. To do so, this is the button which is called close button. So I'm gonna select that one. And I'm also gonna add an event listener. And I'm interested in the event of click. And when the user click on it, I want to run whatever inside this function. And since it's actually an arrow function and it's only one statement, I don't need actually to add the curly braces here. I can just put my statement right away. Side nav dot style dot left should be equal -100%. So we're gonna send it back -100%. Let me put it this way. Okay, let's test it. Okay, it's working perfect right now. This is for small screen, and this is going to be for the larger screen. And if I inspect it for an iPhone, it's going to look perfect, and the width here is going to be almost 60% of the phone screen. So if now I test it on a smaller screen phones, it look okay. That's it, guys. Thank you for watching, and I hope you liked this video. And if you do like it, hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed to our channel yet, please do now. And I'll see you next video. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.